Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk Sports podcast with me, Lucia. So, it's beginning of the new rundown and new way that I'm doing this. I will be releasing them on either a Friday or a Saturday now, just depending on what my time frame is, Australian time. So I'm going to do like 3 top stories from the NFL, and then the rest of the podcast is going to be focusing on the NBA. And then in the future, going further towards the draft, the NFL draft, I will focus on the draft a little bit more. Each week, I am going to go through a team or two that I think are in the conversation for playoffs next year and just see what they need to do in order to add to them. So this week it's going to be the New York Giants because that's my team and I love the New York Giants. So I am going to get into the rest of the podcast. So one person that is going to be changing teams definitely is JJ Watt. JJ Watt has been released by the Houston Texans and he's been linked to several teams, including the Green Bay Packers because he is from Wisconsin, the Cleveland Browns, which people are saying that would be an ultimate betrayal towards his brothers because they play for the Steelers. I just think it's going to be funny seeing him play with a potential Super Bowl winning team, which is what he wants to go to. And you know what's funny for me to think about is the fact that the Cleveland Browns are considered a Super Bowl winning team. I'll actually be covering them next week on what I think they can do to improve. But yeah, it is so weird to think about the Cleveland Browns actually being good. As a football fan, that's just not a thing. But they have gotten better and better and better, and they've got the right guy at quarterback, which I think JJ Watt can actually see. JJ Watt is one of the greatest football players that we've ever seen. He's an even better guy than he is football player. The amount of charities that he's donated to, he helped when Houston was going through their problems with the hurricanes, and I'm sure he's helping out now with all of the stuff that's going on with the snow and the snowstorm, which my hearts and my thoughts and prayers are out to everyone that is just dealing with this. Bunker down, it's okay, we're going to get through this. It's just another stepping stone on our way to being a better human being. But anyway, yeah, so JJ Watt's released. So we're now on JJ Watch. Ooh, that'd be a good name for a TV show. So I'll keep on giving you updates on that. Carson Wentz, the broken quarterback, is on the move. He reportedly is getting traded out of the Philadelphia Eagles. According to a lot of sources, he is in the middle of being traded to the Colts. Now, I know there's a segment of Colts Nation or the Horseshoe or whatever it's called, whatever their fandom's called, that don't want Carson Wentz. One of them actually being Pat McAfee, who's my favorite commentator because he understands what he's doing and he understands it non-ironically, and I think that Pat McAfee is an incredible host, an incredible talent. So yeah, Carson Wentz, the broken quarterback, is on the move. That's gonna be fun to watch. It'll also be fun to watch to see if he can actually get better if he goes to the Colts. Anyway, in what teams have to do who are potential playoff teams in the future. So this week I have focused on the New York Giants because they are my team and I love them with every little bit of my body. I love the New York Giants. What I think they personally need to do is get an O-line. The Super Bowl actually made me realize how important the O-line actually really is, especially against good defenses. And We've got a good defense, and I believe in Daniel Jones. I believe he's a good quarterback. So I believe we need an O-line, and we've got 6 picks coming up in this draft, which isn't that many, but I think we need to build the O-line and get one legitimate threat for him to throw to. Because when he throws, you can see that he is incredibly talented. He can just put things on people's shoulders, backs, all that. He's a good quarterback. I think this year will be his make or break, whether we keep him or whether we move on. But yeah, I think we need no line. Now into NBA news. Anthony Davis is injured. He has a strained calf. And thinking about a strained calf, it makes you think about KD's injury in the 2019 finals. I hope to God that they don't rush him back and keep him off the court for as long as possible. I'm talking past All-Star. I'm talking almost into April. Don't play him. Keep him off, especially when we've got LeBron playing the way that he does. It doesn't matter about our seeding. It just matters about getting us into not the play-in, just the regular playoff. So even if we're at the 6th seed, that'll be fine, because we're a talented enough team to get to the finals from the 6th seed. I think that, and it's going to be interesting now that fans are allowed back in the stands. I don't know about California yet. I don't know what Gavin Newsom's decided to do with that. But it's going to be interesting because by hopefully the playoffs, we're at maybe even 30% capacity. So there'll actually be some form of home court advantage. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I'm also going to be looking towards the Lakers in how they deal with this injury. AD is a Defensive Player of the Year nominee. He is a nominee. And I believe that AD is sort of like the secret sauce of the Lakers. As well as Kuzma, who I said at the beginning of the year would have a massive year. He is playing at most improved Player of the Year type of material. He is proving his extension. And I am glad that they locked him into that extension now, because there would definitely have been a market for him if we didn't extend him. So I'm glad that we still got him. And AD, rest up. Remember, you need to rest and you need to ice. Rest, ice, contract, and elevate. I think it's contract. Think so. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, now let's move on to a team that, again, like the Cleveland Browns, was never really that good. Are the Knicks actually good? They're 2 games below 500, but they're playing at a level that is a playoff team. They're a playoff caliber team. They have a few moments here and there where they lapse and they go back to old Knick basketball, but they're actually good, which is different from other years. I see this buzz around the Knicks that I haven't seen in forever. I haven't seen the Knicks get this much buzz in forever. And I'm so glad that they are, because they're a fan base that's an actual die-in-the-womb, die-hard fan base for their team. And it's about time that they get a good basketball team. I know Stephen A. and I know that Spike Lee are both going crazy over this Knicks team. And I wish and I hope that they get into even if it's a play-in tournament, to get into the playoffs. I want them to get into the playoffs. They are a playoff caliber team. Ben Simmons is doing really well at the moment. He had a 42-point scoring explosion the other day in another game. Again, I think that he is playing at a Defensive Player of the Year. I would not be surprised if he wins it. If he wins Defensive Player of the Year and Joel Embiid wins MVP, I think that is what's most likely going to happen. So yeah, look forward to seeing more of Ben Simmons scoring points now. John Wall returned to Washington. It returned to Washington for the first time since he was traded to the Rockets. They ended up losing to the Wizards, and him and Bradley Beal had a very, very cute moment, which I'm happy about. And I think that John Wall is really enjoying Houston. I think that's something that's happening, and Bradley Beal actually likes the Washington Wizards. And I think that needs to be said. Anyway, Dame Time is still Dame Time. I actually now have him as my favourite for MVP because he is actually loyal to his small market team. I'm happy about that. Anyway, the game of the week. Of course, it's the Lakers versus the Nets. The potential NBA Finals matchup. Of course, I was going to put that as the game of the week. No news yet on KD, whether he's playing or not. And AD is not playing, so it'll be LeBron. But no news yet on whether KD or even Kyrie is playing. So I will be looking to hear more about that coming up soon. Hopefully in the next couple of hours we'll find that out. But yeah, that game is going to be good. I'm going to be looking to see how the Nets come up against their potential finals competitors and also the defending champs. So yeah, that game's going to be great. So that is all for this week's episode of Let's Talk Sports Podcast with Lucia. So I'll catch you all next week. Bye.